Imagine a dance that you can't stop, a rhythm that seizes your body, forcing you to move until you collapse from pure exhaustion. It sounds like something out of a dark fairy tale. But for hundreds of people in the summer of 1518, it was a terrifying reality. This is the story of the dancing plague of 1518, one of the most bizarre and unsettling events in medieval history. In the city of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, a phenomenon erupted that continues to baffle historians and scientists to this day. It all began with a single person. In July of that year, a woman known as Frau Trophia stepped out of her home and into the narrow cobblestone street. Without any music or celebration, she began to dance. Her movements were not joyful, they were frantic, a convulsive series of twists and leaps that went on for hours. She didn't stop for a day, or even two. Her husband and neighbors watched in bewilderment as she continued her relentless, silent dance. By the fourth day, her feet were bruised and bleeding, her body was slick with sweat, but she could not rest. Her ordeal continued for nearly a week before the authorities intervened, carrying her away to a local shrine to recover. But her strange affliction was just the beginning. Within a week, something extraordinary started to happen. Dozens of other citizens began to join in the same frenzied, uncontrollable dancing. The streets of Strasbourg transformed into a surreal open-air stage for a performance no one had chosen to be a part of. The numbers grew exponentially. By the end of the month, the dancing mob had swelled to around 400 people. Men, women, and even some children were caught in the grip of this inexplicable compulsion, dancing day and night in the city squares and alleyways. The city's leaders were at a loss. Believing the dancers were suffering from hot blood, their initial medical advice was astonishingly counterintuitive. They prescribed more dancing. They cleared out guild halls, set up a large wooden stage in the grain market, and even hired professional musicians to provide a beat, thinking the afflicted could dance the fever out of their systems. This well-intentioned but disastrous response only made things worse. The constant music seemed to encourage more people to join, and the public spectacle amplified the hysteria. The scene was grim. Dancers' bodies were pushed beyond their limits. They suffered from dehydration, starvation, and sheer physical exhaustion. Their faces were contorted in agony, yet their legs kept moving. Reports from the time described people collapsing, suffering from heart attacks and strokes. At the peak of the plague, it said that as many as 15 people were dying each day from the relentless exertion. The city descended into a state of panic and confusion. What could possibly cause such a widespread and fatal mania? Over the centuries, several compelling theories have emerged, each trying to make sense of this historical enigma. We can group them into three main categories: psychological, chemical, and religious explanations. One of the most widely accepted theories points to mass psychogenic illness, or mass hysteria. The citizens of Strasbourg in 1518 were living in a period of extreme hardship and anxiety. Famine was rampant, with widespread starvation and poverty gripping the region. Disease was a constant threat, and the populace was struggling under the weight of immense social and economic pressure. This environment of chronic stress and despair could have created a perfect storm for a psychological breakdown on a massive scale. The constant fear and hopelessness may have reached a tipping point, manifesting physically as an uncontrollable, convulsive dance. In this context, dancing could have been a trance-like state, a desperate psychological escape from an unbearable reality. The collective stress found an outlet in this shared physical symptom, spreading through social contagion. Seeing others in the throes of the dance could trigger the same response in already vulnerable individuals. Another compelling explanation involves a chemical culprit: ergot poisoning. Ergot is a mold that grows on damp rye, which was the staple grain for making bread at the time. This fungus produces a powerful psychoactive chemical, ergotamine, from which LSD is derived. Ingesting bread made from contaminated rye can cause a condition known as ergotism. The symptoms are severe and include muscle spasms, convulsions, hallucinations, and a burning sensation in the limbs. It's plausible that the dancers were suffering from the convulsive form of ergotism, which would explain their uncontrollable movements and delirious states. However, this theory has its weaknesses. While ergotism causes spasms, it doesn't typically manifest as coordinated dancing that could last for days. Furthermore, not all historical accounts of the plague mention the other classic symptoms of ergot poisoning like gangrene. It's possible, but it may not be the complete picture. Finally, we must consider the deeply religious and superstitious worldview of the 16th century. For the people of Strasbourg, the world was a place where divine will and demonic forces were very real. Many believed the dancing plague was a curse, a punishment from a specific saint. Historical records mention that the dancers were often taken to the shrine of Saint Vitus, a saint who was believed to have the power to both inflict and cure diseases involving uncontrollable movements. This suggests that the community interpreted the event through a religious lens. The belief in a dancing curse could have become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people genuinely believed they could be afflicted by a supernatural dancing force, the sheer power of that belief, combined with the extreme stress they were under, might have been enough to trigger the physical symptoms. The hysteria was, in a sense, culturally sanctioned, fitting into a known framework of divine punishment and spiritual affliction. So what finally brought the dancing to a halt? After the failure of their more dancing strategy, the city officials switched tactics. They banned public dancing and music. The remaining dancers were gathered up and taken on a forced pilgrimage to the mountain shrine of Saint Vitus. There they were made to pray for absolution. Miraculously, as the weeks wore on, the number of dancers began to dwindle. By early September, the strange epidemic had finally subsided, leaving a traumatized city and a profound mystery in its wake. The dancing plague of 1518 was not an isolated incident, similar, though smaller. Outbreaks of dancing mania were reported across Europe between the 7th and 17th centuries. But the Strasbourg event remains the most famous and well-documented case of this bizarre phenomenon. In the end, it's likely that no single explanation can fully account for what happened. The truth may lie in a complex interplay of all three factors: a population primed for hysteria by famine and stress, possibly triggered by the psychoactive effects of ergot poisoning, and all interpreted through a powerful lens of religious superstition. The dancing plague serves as a haunting reminder of the powerful connection between the mind and the body, and how social and psychological pressures can manifest in terrifying physical ways. It's a moment in history where reality became stranger than any fiction, a dance of desperation that continues to echo through the centuries. Thank you for watching. If you found this exploration of history's strange corners interesting, yet be sure to subscribe to Historical Repo for more deep dives into the past's most fascinating and mysterious events.